Want to welcome everybody to the draw for the 145th Belmont Stakes here in the Garden Terrace at Belmont Park. Want to thank everybody for coming and thank everybody that is viewing the show on MSG, BelmontStakes.com, as well as HRTV. PJ Campos to my right, our racing secretary, our stakes coordinator, Andrew Byrne, is to his right, and Maggie Wolfendale will be helping us here as we put up the draw. Andrew, you ready? Number 6, Incognito. Incognito is owned by Godolphin Racing, trained by Kiaran McLaughlin, ridden by Irad Ortiz. Number 10, Will Take Charge. Will Take Charge, owned by Willis D. Horton, trained by D. Wayne Lukas, ridden by John Court. 13, Unlimited Budget, owned by Repole Stable, trained by Todd Pletcher, ridden by Rosie Napravnik. Number 3, Overanalyze, also owned by Repole Stable, trained by Todd Pletcher, ridden by John Velasquez. Number 5, Kentucky Derby winner Orb, owned by Stewart Janney III, Phipps Stable, trained by Shug McGaughey, and ridden by Joel Rosario. That's number 5, Orb. Number 12, Palace Malice, owned by Dogwood Stable, trained by Todd Pletcher, ridden by Mike Smith. Number 1, Frack Daddy, owned by Magic City Thoroughbred Partners, trained by Kenny McPeak, and ridden by Alan Garcia. Number 2, Freedom Child, owned by West Point Thoroughbreds, St. Elias Stable and Fenthrift Farm, trained by Tommy Albertrani, ridden by Luis Saez. 14, the outside horse, will be Golden Soul, second in the Kentucky Derby, owned by Charles E. Fipke, trained by Dallas Stewart, ridden by Robbie Alvarado. Number 9, Revolutionary, owned by Windstar Farm, trained by Todd Pletcher, and ridden by Javier Castellano. Number 8, Midnight Taboo, owned by Repole Stables, trained by Todd Pletcher, and ridden by Garrett Gomez. Number 7, the Preakness winner, Oxbow, owned by Calumet Farm, trained by Wayne Lukas, ridden by Gary Stevens. Number 11, Vijack. Vijack is owned by Pick 6 Racing, trained by Rudy Rodriguez, and ridden by Julian Leperoux. And finally, number 4, Giant Finish. Giant Finish is owned by Sunrise Stables, Golden Goose Enterprises, Aubrey Flanagan, and Bob Smith, trained by Tony Dutrow, and ridden by Edgar Prado. Let's go through the field along with the morning line odds for the 145th Belmont Stakes. Number 1, Frack Daddy. Frack Daddy is owned by Magic City Thoroughbred Partners, trained by Kenny McPeak, ridden by Alan Garcia. The morning line on Frack Daddy is 30-1. Number 2, Freedom Child, owned by West Point Thoroughbreds, St. Elias Stable, Spendthrift Farm, trained by Tommy Albertrani, ridden by Luis Saez. Freedom Child, 8-1 morning line. Number 3, Overanalyze, owned by Repole Stable, trained by Todd Pletcher, ridden by John Velasquez. Overanalyze, 12-1 morning line. Number 4, Giant Finish, owned by Sunrise Stables, Golden Goose Enterprises, Aubrey Flanagan, Bob Smith, trained by Tony Dutrow, ridden by Edgar Prado. Giant Finish, 30-1 morning line. Number 5, Orb, owned by Stewart Janney III, Phipps Stable, trained by Shug McGaughey, ridden by Joel Rosario. Orb, the 3-1 favorite on the morning line. Number 6, Incognito, owned by Godolphin Racing, trained by Kiaran McLaughlin, ridden by Irad Ortiz. Incognito, 20-1 on the morning line. 7, the Preakness winner Oxbow, Calumet Farm, trained by D. Wayne Lukas, ridden by Gary Stevens. Oxbow is 5-1 morning line. Number 8, Midnight Taboo, owned by Repole Stable, trained by Todd Pletcher, ridden by Garrett Gomez. Midnight Taboo, 30-1 morning line. Number 9, Revolutionary, Windstar Farm, the owner, Todd Pletcher, the trainer. Javier Castellano has the mount. Revolutionary 9-2 morning line. Number 10, Will Take Charge, owned by Willis D. Horton, trained by Dwayne Lukas, ridden by John Court. Will Take Charge 20-1 morning line. Number 11, Vijack, owned by Pick 6 Racing, trained by Rudy Rodriguez, ridden by Julien Leparoux. Vijack 20-1 morning line. Number 12, Palace Malice, owned by Dogwood Stable, trained by Todd Pletcher, ridden by Mike Smith. Palace Malice 15-1 morning line. Number 13, the filly Unlimited Budget, owned by Repole Stable, trained by Todd Pletcher, ridden by Rosie Napravnik. Unlimited Budget 8-1 morning line. Rounding out the field, number 14, Golden Soul, owned by Charles E. Fipke, trained by Dallas Stewart, ridden by Robbie Alvarado. Golden Soul is 10-1 on the morning line. That's the field for the 145th Belmont Stakes to be run this Saturday here at Belmont Park. And as we continue with our program, we're going to bring up some people. We're very happy and appreciate everybody that came to the draw this morning, and we'll bring up some of the contestants. And we'll start with the Kentucky Derby winning trainer, Shug McGaughey. Thanks a lot for coming, Shug.
Thank you.
First question I have to ask, your post, how do you feel about the draw?
Well, I said I'd like to get the middle, and that's about as middle as you can get. So I'm a lot more satisfied there than I was at Pimlico.
How do you think this Belmont Stakes suits the running style of Rorb?
I think it'll be fine. I mean, I think on paper there's going to be a bit of a pace, so he'll be able to kind of drop out of it and dictate what he wants to do. If there isn't, they go in 49 or 49 some change, something like that. I think he can be laying up there, and I just hope he has someplace to go when the time comes.
Unlike the Preakness a little bit. How much have you enjoyed this whole Triple Crown experience?
Oh, I've had a great time. When the process got started, I told him, I said, we're going to go have some fun with this, and even though we were disappointed in Maryland, we had a good time there, and we've had a good time kind of sorting things out when we got back here, and I've enjoyed the whole thing very much, and looking forward to doing it again sometime.
We appreciate you taking your time, and you've obviously given a lot of your time. You want to thank anybody? I see you brought some people today with you. Do you want to thank anybody in particular?
Well, I thank everybody. I thank the press for being as nice to us as they have been. I mean, obviously, my people, backing us the whole time. And they made it a lot of fun for me too. That taking the pressure off of me and kind of laughing, and maybe when I got a little uptight, sort of saying settle down and everything's going to be okay. And so it's everybody's been very, very kind at Churchill, at Pimlico, and of course this is our home here at Belmont, and everybody's been over backwards to see that we were comfortable, and Orr was comfortable, and all our people, I hope, were comfortable.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Shug, for coming, and of course, good luck.
Thank
you. Now I'd like to bring up the trainer of the Preakness winner, the man who spoiled that possible Triple Crown attempt, Dwayne Lukas. I want to thank you because, by the way, you said that we hadn't thanked you at Naira. I want to thank you.
Andy and I are the only ones who were able to figure out the mint thing, how to open it.
Yes, you figured out how to open the mints. Don't give me any credit. Wayne, of course, most of all, let's talk about your post. How do you feel about the draw?
Well, I think we overanalyze that a lot. I think it's nice for the press to have something to write about today, but really at 1.5 miles with that long run and sweeping turns, I think we have a tendency to overanalyze the post position draw. I'm more concerned about who's around me and maybe what they're going to do rather than what gate we got.
How has Oxbow trained since the Preakness?
His energy level is really good. I'm very pleased with that. And when you go in the Triple Crown Series, you get that first one in 2 weeks, and then back to this one in 3. I think, and Shug alluded to it earlier, you're just concerned about how they're coming each week, and if you can get a barometer on maybe how their energy level is going into this last one, you got a chance, especially if they can run a little bit.
We don't want to just talk about Oxbow. Obviously, he winning the Preakness, but you do have another horse in the race, Will Take Charge, who as a lot of people know was moving with Orb in the Derby before he ran into some traffic trouble in the race. Do you think he can bounce back? Obviously, he didn't run as well in the Preakness.
Well, he had a little bit of trip like Orb in the Preakness, too. They had similar trips in that race also. The thing about Will Take Charge is he's 17 hands high, and he's not a start and stop. He's not real nifty, but when he gets that head of steam up and gets rolling, and in this particular race, I think with the configuration of the racetrack and the distance and everything, I think that he's probably a factor. I would, for betting man, I wouldn't leave him out of my superfecta at least.
Well, we know you're a betting man, and we know you like to bet superfectas. We appreciate that. One last thing before I let you go. Oxbow drew outside of Freedom Child. Was that one of the things about the draw, maybe the only thing that you felt was important?
Well, I haven't got a very good line on Freedom Child. Obviously, he showed that speed in his race here, and you know, one of the interesting things here, Andy, is the fact that there's only a few of us that aren't on our home court. There's 2 or 3 Dallas Stewart's horse, my 2, a couple of us. Everybody else is coming out of their own stall on their home court. So I think it's a great advantage for them to, you know, be home and training. These horses have a tendency to settle in and get, you know, in a rhythm and so forth. So to ship in, and then you get the horses that have been over the surface, like Freedom Child, but that was wet. And well, it might be wet Saturday too, so
Let's hope not.
Yeah, let's hope not. But if it is, I like him a lot better than if it's dry.
All right, Wayne. Once again, thanks a lot for everything, and thanks for coming, and best of luck. Trainer D. Wayne Lukas. I'd like to now bring up the trainer of, I think, 5 horses in this year's Belmont Stakes, Todd Pletcher. Todd, thank you. I assume you're not allowed to talk about any horses that are owned by Mike Repole, but you have anything to say about any of your post positions in particular?
I thought it turned out well. We were kind of hoping a limited budget would draw towards the outside, and I think Palace Mouse maybe will show some speed, so we're happy to be outside of Freedom Child and Oxbow. So I thought it went pretty well.
Let's talk a little bit about I'm sorry, I've lost my train of thought because I have questions for Gary Stevens. I was reading for you. Revolutionary, obviously closing well in the Derby. How do you feel about the 1.5 miles for him?
I think it should suit him well. I mean, the one thing I'm not worried about is he's a horse that turns off real easily. I think he'll settle the first part of the race, and that's important if you're going to get the 1.5 miles, and I'm not worried about that with him at all.
Palace Malice. Now, obviously, things will go differently in the Belmont Stakes in the early part than they did in the Derby. How much do you see things changing?
Well, he's always been a very kind horse, and you know, the one thing that surprised me more so than the speed that he showed in the Derby was he didn't show any speed when we stretched him out. First time in the Risen Star, he was completely off the bridle, and same thing in the Louisiana Derby. And it's a horse that was very close to some really fast fractions sprinting, so kind of caught us off guard that way, and also caught us off guard. He was as headstrong as he was in the Derby.
Before I let you go, are you glad that Mike Repole didn't have 4 or 5 more 3-year-olds eligible for this race, and you would have had even more horses in the race?
We talked about a couple other ones, believe it or not, but
I believe it.
We finally narrowed it down to these 3.
Anything you'd like to say? Talk a little about the filly. Obviously, your Belmont Stakes success was with Rags to Riches. Do you have any comparisons you could make about these 2 horses?
Well, she's a big, strong, talented filly. I think from a physical standpoint, she's going to match up well. You know, my biggest concern is just the 1.5 miles with her, and she's not as strongly bred as Rags to Riches was, being by APND and out of a mare that had produced the Belmont winner the year before. So, but she's trained very well. I think you know, she indicated in her breeze here Sunday morning that she's ready to go and run as well as she's capable of.
Well, Todd, thanks a lot, and obviously good luck with all your entrants. Well, I feel sorry for the people who are going to follow the next person I'm going to bring up, because I'm now going to bring up owner Mike Repole, who has 3 horses in this year's Belmont, and I'm always happy to have Mike here, as Mike is a good guy and always has a lot of good things to say. So, Mike, thanks a lot for joining us. Mike, first of all, good luck, and thanks for coming. Do you have any thoughts on any of the posts that your horses drew?
Todd and I spoke about unlimited budget being on the outside. She got the 13 post. I actually like that Palace Mouse on the inside because I think he'll go and she'll, follow him. And we wanted Midnight Taboo and and Overanalyze inside the top 8, and we got 3 and 8. So I'm happy with all 3.
Just a little curious with unlimited budget and the filly going here. And obviously, Todd has another very terrific filly in his barn. He's got a couple Kentucky Oaks winner, but also Dreaming of Julia, who's pointing for our Mother Goose in a couple of weeks. How much did her running in the Mother Goose sort of make you kind of want to maybe not run against her and take a shot in the Belmont?
I don't think it was a factor, but I mean, I think it's going to be easier to win this race than beat Dreaming of Julia in the coach club. I think this is the one year that I think the Phillies are just as good as the Colts. The numbers say that. You looked at the Kentucky Oaks; it's probably one of the best Kentucky Oaks out there. 2 horses came back, Close Hatches and Midnight Lucky came back and won pretty easily, won in second in that race. And she's not built like a filly. When we picked her out in the Ocala sale, when my team and Todd took her out, first 6 minutes I looked at her, I thought she was a colt. I mean, she's going to be bigger than 50% of this field. I mean, she's a big, big filly.
Speaking of talking about her size and the general horses, do you have any feeling of which of your horses is maybe perhaps best suited to the 1.5 mile distance?
I think if any trainer or owner told you they knew for sure their horse could get a 1.5 mile distance. I mean, I know I watch them gallop; they get 2 miles every day. So I think if they're going to gallop, they can get 2. I don't think you really know. I think it's such a jockey race; it's such a pace race. Midnight Taboo has Thumb the Gulch on his dam side. Overanalyze is out of Dixie Union. Union Regs won it last year. Unlimited Budget has Street Sense, which can go 2 miles, and it's got Valid Appeal that can go 1 mile. So hopefully she runs to the sire side, not the dam side. So I think depending on the pace, they all can go 1.5 miles.
I think it was Wayne Lukas who said they can all get the distance, just a question of how quickly they get it. Obviously, winning the Travers 2 years ago with Stay Thirsty, and you being a New York guy and a great supporter of our program here at NYRA, is Belmont Stakes now sort of the focus of the race that you would like to win the most?
I've been coming to Belmont and Aqueduct for 30 years since I was a 13, 14-year-old kid. The number one race I want to win is the Belmont Stakes. I mean, I never made it a secret. Some people get Derby fever. I get Belmont Stakes fever. This is the race I want to win. We're going to have 100 people here, friends and family, 150 that couldn't come because we couldn't get room. But this is the race I want to win. I've been very fortunate. Todd and I have won 30 graded stakes over the last 3 years. We won the Travers with Stay Thirsty. That and Uncle Mo's Breeders' Cup was the best 2 wins of my life. But this is the race I want to win. This is the race that for 30 years I've dreamt about winning.
Well, we hope you have success, whether it's this year or in the coming years, and obviously appreciate everything you do for us, Mike. Thanks a lot, and thanks for joining us. A couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I think Freedom Child won the Peter Pan, our prep here at Belmont Park for the Belmont Stakes very, very impressively on a sloppy racetrack, and setting himself up as perhaps an upsetter in this year's Belmont Stakes. And we're very happy to have the trainer of Freedom Child, Tom Albertrani. I'd like to bring him up now. Thanks, Tommy. Once again, obviously good luck, but your post, any thoughts on that?
Well, I think we were hoping to get maybe a little further toward the middle, but we dealt with post 1 in the Peter Pan, so we'll just deal with post 2 for the Belmont.
Obviously, the other main speed you would think about would be Oxbow. Now he's on your flank, so you'll have to use your speed. Do you feel comfortable if he's put in a position where he has to rate behind horses?
I don't know if he's a horse that wants to be behind horses because he's got a free running style. I think he'll probably want to find himself clear into the first turn, whether it's, if he has to use himself a little bit into the turn like he did in the Peter Pan. He broke a little slow and worked his way to the front, but just depends on how we leave it. I suppose he'll have to work his way on the inside and see where we end up.
I would assume that you, unlike us, are one of the people that won't be unhappy should the unfortunate event of there be some rain, because obviously he won the Peter Pan in the slop.
No, we've been watching the forecast since a few days ago, and it's getting better and better for us, I think, every day we look at it.
I'm no longer going to wish you good luck in this race. How about the distance of 1.5 miles? Obviously, it's the great equalizer, and nobody knows how they'll do. How do you feel about that?
I don't think he'll have a problem going 1.5 miles. I had a Malibu Moon in the past who broke a track record at Monmouth Park going 1.5 miles in a stake, so I feel pretty confident about his chances of going 1.5 miles.
All right, one last question before I let you go. How's he trained since the Peter Pan?
It couldn't be better. I mean, he's sharp. His energy level is very high, and I couldn't be happy with the condition, the way he's looking right now.
All right, well, Tommy, all sounds good, and we appreciate your coming up, and do wish you the best of luck. Thank you. Trainer Dallas Stewart trains Golden Soul, who finished second in this year's Kentucky Derby, and we're glad to have Dallas around here and back. And we're going to bring him up for a couple of questions about Golden Soul, the runner-up in this year's Kentucky Derby. Thanks for coming, Dallas. Once again, of course, the post position. Any thoughts?
14 might be lucky. Limits Forever was 14. I wasn't very happy then, so I don't know. Maybe it's a lucky number for me, but it'll be a little bit of a challenge. But we got a great rider, and course, you never know, how the pace is going to set up, and with the track being muddy, but we'll just have to see. That's what we're here for, horse racing.
It's not muddy yet, Dallas. But let's talk about that a second. Obviously, you got a sloppy track in the Kentucky Derby, and he was second, and he was a relative long shot and did get a great ride to get there. Do you feel that one wet track equates necessarily to another one?
I mean, I don't really know. If you have a horse that wins in the mud, and then the next time the racetrack's muddy, you feel, that you got a shot. But this horse has been won, even his first race. He can run inside, outside, in between horses. He's a challenging type of colt, and he's met a lot of challenges, and I think that he's going to be up for it Saturday. Even, with the tough post, I think he'll be fine.
And how has he bounced back since the Derby?
He's great now. It took a little bit. I thought the race had taken a little bit out of him. We freshened him a little bit. He never really missed any time. Galloped every day, almost 2 miles. His energy's been great. He had a great work. Had a good gallop here today. He's been eating well, so I feel like he's going to run terrific.
And finally, the mile and a half. Any thoughts on the distance?
I think it should should suit him.
The tongue twister.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he'll be fine.
All right, great. Dallas, thanks a lot, and thanks for coming. Best of luck. Dallas Stewart. A couple minutes here for one last guest. I think trainer Kiaran McLaughlin is here, and Kiaran will be saddling Incognito. Of course, Kiaran won the Belmont Stakes a few years ago with Jazzle. I think that was 2006, I want to say. Kiaran is here. We appreciate Kiaran coming up to join us for a couple of questions. Thanks, Kiaran. How about the post? The big post question. How do you feel about your draw?
I'm just happy that there's 14 in there and we're one of them. So no problem with the post.
Obviously, he got caught the mud in the Peter Pan, and that probably worked against him the way that race was run. Do you think the mile and a half is one of the big reasons you're hoping he can improve enough to be effective in the Belmont?
Correct. That's the main reason. APND out of Octave, and he galloped out real well in the Peter Pan. I think he handles a wet track. He just didn't like it in his face.
Yeah, he's a horse who, for those who haven't seen him, overcame some significant trouble to win his race 2 starts back when he was almost knocked down the stretch. Do you feel it sort of makes him a little more battle-hardened and might help him, especially in this kind of big field?
Yes, right after the race, I told Mike Luzzy that was our Belmont prep, and as you say, he's battle-tested, so we hope for the best and hope his pedigree kicks in at the quarter pole.
Unfortunately, Mike is injured and won't be riding him again. This is the first time that he has his new rider for the race. Are you comfortable with that?
Yes, Ira has been doing very well. He's young, 20-year-old, doing great, and we won it with a 19-year-old before, so he's got a lot more experience than the last one.
As I recall, you won a couple of grade ones with the rod last year in Saratoga. Kiaran, thanks for coming up, and good luck. That'll wrap things up here for the draw for the 145th Belmont. We want to remind people the connections of the horses that are here. We have tables set up one step below our dining area, and if the press would be so kind as to go down there, you'll be able to talk for a few minutes with all the members of the connections of all the horses in this race. And want to say once again, we appreciate everybody who came today, everybody who joined us on stage, everybody who's watching, whether it's on MSG, HRTV, BelmontStakes.com, and we're going to have a tremendous 145th Belmont Stakes on Saturday, and we certainly hope and look forward to everybody joining us. Best of luck to everybody.